And I am going to be honest, I'm still getting used to looking like this, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. But it's crazy to think that this was all this mush. Oh, God. Was hiding under my beard the whole time. And, yeah, if I'm to be honest, oh, man. I said to Beck this morning, firstly, hey, Billy, it's me. I'm back. I keep forgetting that I just start talking, but it's nice to be talking to me, future me. I think one thing I've realized, I don't know if I shared around this, but I kind of came to the realization that death and life are two sides of the same coin, and that death comes back to see what you did with your life, really. Like, you were given life, and then death comes back later to see, hey, like, I'm curious, how did you go? What'd you do? So, yeah, don't know how that ties in, sorry. My fat double chin is a little bit distracting. Ah, dude, man. Yeah, anyway, so I said to Beck this morning how I um I'm very motivated. I'm very motivated to have people see me with a double chin for the least amount of time possible. So my diet, don't really care if people disagree with this, but my diet is going to be, for the most part, pretty much just meat. I'm just going to eat a shitload of meat. I love lamb. How good's that? I'm going to eat tons of lamb and chicken, but I'm starting with a week long fast. So last time I did a week long fast, I absolutely loved it. And I just need to down a shitload of water. Whenever I'm feeling hungry, drink some water. Um, the hunger satiates and or subsides. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And I know that the hunger, that the pain of hunger, spikes at about day 3 or 4. So yeah, just to really kind of get that metabolism really fired up, get the state of ketosis really engaged, and then going to go to either chicken or lamb, probably chicken, and just for two reasons: one, it's a cheaper alternative, and secondly, higher in protein. So yeah, and predominantly just eat chicken breasts until I get to the weight that I want to be at. My target weight is 85. Currently, I'm 109. So I've got 30 kilo to lose. And the rule is I'm not allowed to grow my beard back until I do it. So I get to fully expose all this absolute sexy goodness. God damn. Yeah. So even my kids, obviously I shaved last night, and the kids, they were saying to me the whole time, "Oh, Dad, you look different. Dad, you look weird." And even Tilly tonight, I was helping her load a toothbrush up, and she says to me, "Oh, Dad, can you look like you did before?" And I was like, I'm sorry, darling." So eventually, or maybe or not, maybe I won't grow my beard back. I'd be very surprised if I don't, but you never know. So anyway, yeah, that was interesting. Um, so today, oh yeah, yeah. So I got up pretty early and just started tackling my to do list on the computer, and after I did that, Eliza, she was so sweet. She can't reach the chicken cage, where they lay the eggs, or hatch, or whatever, hutch, whatever you want to call it. Oh, goodness me, she can't reach the hutch, and so she got for Easter one of those little like grabbers. You squeeze the handle and it opens and closes, and it's shaped like an egg, so it was able to grab. So she actually used that to pick up the egg, which is great. Came in proud as punch, showing me that she picked up this egg, and I didn't really click until Beck came back and was just like, "Oh, did you see what she did? Did you see?" So it's always find it so amazing, like the children's creativity. I remember listening to a guy who was an engineer, and he was talking about how this span of the bridge. no, so I'm going to butcher this whole story because I don't get it. Trying to design a bridge or something. He was playing with his kid, and his kid actually removed a piece of the bridge, which was what made it stable. And he, as an engineer, had been taught, add. You don't really subtract. Took it to all his peers, and his peers did the same thing that he did, where they added things to try and reinforce the bridge. But in actual fact, once they removed the stuff that his kid removed, bang, there it was. There's the answer. So it was really, I find that really interesting. Is like, kids just have this, real creative way about going around things, and one of the things I love about homeschooling, and I am really looking forward to, probably early next year we'll start homeschooling our kids, is the freedom that they have to be able to problem solve how they want, and to really facilitate that. And while we're in Esperance, I bought a book on Montessori. It's called the Montessori. Goodness, I'm so sorry. It's called the Montessori Child, and really cool, really really cool. And Beck started reading that, and the coolest thing I've already seen in the last few days, just her. She's a lot lighter and a lot more fun with the kids, and Beck's already been, really gets involved with the kids and stuff, but this is like a whole nother level. And already, like, Lexi was making dinner last night, and the kids are actively involved in helping her. And so, I love seeing that, and I love seeing how, Beck's growing in that space too. So, funny. Eliza, goodness, she is becoming very, very vocal about what she does and doesn't like. And I was sitting in here doing some work today, and I heard Eliza, she spat the dummy about something, and Beck, just trying to engage her and get her out of her head, was like, Eliza, do you want this? Or no. Eliza, you upset because of this? No. Eliza, do you want to? No. And I reckon about 15 questions in a row. No. And Beck was like, Eliza, you upset? No. Eliza, I can't remember what it was, like, do you want to come back and play with us? No. Eliza, do you want the thing that she obviously wanted? No. So funny. And yeah, and that's right. And Beck finished by telling her, she's like, baby, I love you. I'd love to hang out with you. And Eliza goes, no. So, she cracks me up, man. Yeah, all my kids say they're so funny. Yeah. So, gosh, what was I looking at? Yeah, today, today was pretty productive. I got everything I need to get done. We are looking at, in the next probably 4 to 5 months, moving into a second premises. So we'll have both going. What I'm really really hoping for is is that the app that we're building will be, or the web app will be, finalized by then, so that we can multi-site it. That'd be really great. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, so I pretty much got everything I need to get done today, which is awesome. So then I can really start on the project work that I've been wanting to work on. And so yeah, so we met up about the other location. I'm going to inquire with these guys that do MMA in town and see if we can get our Lexi and Tilly into BJJ. It's something that I've obviously been interested in as well, and I'd like to get into BJJ. I have enjoyed boxing and Muay Thai before, but Jiu-Jitsu is something that I think everybody understands the value of nowadays. And yeah. And then finally the Savo. So I left home at about midday. I didn't get home till about 5:30, which was unexpected. So I met up with this guy who is kind of been a bit of a, I guess, a business mentor sporadically, and I asked his advice a few months back around a bit of a prickly situation that I I'm still resolving it. And I had asked him yeah, we just got to. I can't really go into it, but um, and I kind of offered him this. I come up with a solution, and a part of it involves his involvement, and I was chatting with him, and it was great. Like, we've known each other a long time, so I was able to kind of like we were able to do some life and chat and talk about philosophies, and there's a lot of things. I have a lot of respect for how he raised his kids, and I think as well the outcome. His kids, um, they seem very rounded and very. Um, I yeah I have a lot of respect for how he's raised his kids. Sorry, I know I'm being super vague. It's not. Yeah, I don't want to be giving too much info away on who it is, unless obviously they're fine with it. But um, so yeah. So anyway, so I met up with him, and we just got talking, and I told him, okay, this is the solution I'm thinking for this situation, and he was like, yeah, okay, sounds good. Let me think about it, and rah rah rah, and then we just got talking about life, and he ended up, and I've known parts of his story, and it was really cool. He was able to like really just give me the full rundown on his entire story, and for the most part, someone who's wildly uneducated, um, a lot of learning difficulties, and has still risen to an incredible height in business. And I think it was a real encouragement because he was saying like I don't read books, and and I don't read books. Not to say that he doesn't want to. It's just the fact that obviously with learning difficulties and everything else, it makes it hard. And and I was just saying, I was like, well, how have you learned anything? No disrespect, but like how I learn is through books. I get a lot of value out of books. But I was like, how have you learned? How have you got to where you are? And ultimately, and this has kind of been the challenge of my last 6 months at least, is I'm kind of on this journey of just letting go. And it doesn't mean that you're aimless. It doesn't mean that you have no ambition and no drive, but it just means that the thing that's in front of you, you expect it to pan out a certain way, and you hold that loosely. It doesn't mean that you're less diligent. It doesn't mean that you're you know not going to be any more zealous or passionate, but you surrender the outcome of how you think it's going to happen, and in doing that, you're actually able to think clearly and see more clearly about how things actually are meant to be and should be, and how they are going to pan out. And so I was talking with him around that, and just how and for the most part, his story like is just really having to trust that. I mean, from a religious standpoint, trust that God's gonna come through and do what He says He's gonna do. And I know I might lose a few people listening to this. That's kind of his perspective. And what I kind of find is that I grew up in the church. I went to Bible college, and I came out with Bible college with tons of questions. Eventually, not many years after that, Beck and I got married. We moved to Melbourne, and you're right in the thick of everything that is just gnarly and wild. And it was there that I couldn't ignore the questions I had anymore. And I felt like it was just chaos. Like I felt like in my mind, like my mind was going to it was like pressure. It was like a mental pressure, like a physical pressure in my head, and I didn't know what to do about these questions, and my mind was just reeling constantly, being like, is God real? Do I believe what I've grown up to believe, and all these sorts of things, and here's the crazy part is that the more I've learned about like um and not to sound like a quantum scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but like I'm interested in the sciences, and what I read there, and what I read of like at least from a macro sense, on like Buddhism and Stoicism, and is that they, for the most part, they don't actually conflict with Christianity, and they are very complementary. Like, man, I've got so much out. Like, I really subscribe to Stoicism. I really do. And there's even instances where I think it's Paul meets Stoics. So even he was very familiar with the Stoic philosophies, and yeah. Anyway, I don't even know how I've got onto that. Sorry, but yeah. All that aside, there's all these. We had this like really really good chat, and his whole story is around like, man, you have to just business can't be business has to be a means to an end, and the end can never be money, and that I subscribe to right from the outset of our business, is that the outcome of business can never be about money. It has to be something else, and usually it comes down to the people. And what I've learned about life is that the purpose of life is to live, and as a human being, the purpose of being a human being is to be. And again, it doesn't mean that you sit on your hands and do nothing. It doesn't mean that you remain complacent. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But there's certainly an element of letting go of this striving, this just like hamster wheel of shit that we buy into because we're seduced into thinking that that's how life should be, or that's what we should strive for, or whatever. And yeah, I think it was really cool. It was like the conversation that I met up with him at 2, and we were meant to talk for probably like half hour to an hour at max. Ended up talking for about 3.5 hours, and all of it just around life and business philosophies and our journey, and and our one thing he said to me, it was he's just like, Billy, I believe what you're doing now is just, not to say that my talent is wasted, but there's a level of greatness in me that is not being realized doing what I'm doing. And and this is something I've kind of struggled with for the last probably 12 months, because I listen, I love the cafe scene. I love coffees, and I love the hospitality industry because of the community that it creates. I don't give a I don't care about coffees. Like, I love a good coffee, absolutely, but the coffee industry, hospitality, no. Like, I don't care. Like, I care about the community that it creates. I care about the opportunity to build relationship with people through that. I love great food. I love great alcohol. I love great coffee. All of that, yes. But to me, that's not worth me committing my life to. What is worth committing my life to is the impact, the ability to be able to make impact in the community and the lives of people we come in contact with. Totally. The means of how we do that, I don't really care. And it's not isolated just to coffee and in the hospitality industry. So, not to say I've felt aimless at all, and I've still been actively, looking at, growing the business and building infrastructure and making sure, because I mean, obviously, like, we've got investors and I've taken their money, and there's an obligation, and I like being a man of my word. I have pride in that. And if I say I'm going to do something, that I do it. And I want to build the business in a way that it is a very, very sellable asset. And I intend on scaling it so that obviously these people who have taken a bet on us, that they get remunerated really, really healthily for it. Um, so not to say that I'm not interested in what we're building. That's not the case at all. But to me, I just feel like there's something more out there. And I don't know what that looks like. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting fit. God damn. I feel like Brendan Fraser on The Whale. I feel like it's a pretty good picture. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. You'll laugh. And if you're listening to this, then yeah, that's me slapping my fat. I wonder if under there somewhere I've got like a... I wonder if there's a chisel jawline under there. I don't know. Anyway, over the next few months we'll find out. So yeah, I'm going to fast this week, and then I'm just going to eat meat and get swole. Signing up at the gym tomorrow. And yeah, that was my day today. It was a really, really encouraging conversation this afternoon. Obviously, there's a lot of questions, a lot of doubts, and am I doing the right thing? And ultimately, like, and again, what he said, for those who buy into prophecy and everything else, like, dude, I've for those who aren't familiar with prophecy is when you believe that God tells you something to tell someone else. And I've had times in my life where people have I'm like, there's no way. Like, people have said stuff to me and they've like, I believe, God's telling me this, and they've told me it, and I'm just going, there's no way you could have known, and it's, and I've had people say similar things time and time again. And it's almost like it's cookie cut, and these are people who, years apart, not the same people, like separate individuals, and that's where I'm like, okay, there's got to be something to it, yeah. Anyway, and so the whole thing is that there's, that's right. There's an element of stripping back was the word that this guy used. There's an element of stripping back that needs to happen in our lives. And like I was saying to Becca, I was like, man, the whole theme of my last probably 6 months or more has been around letting go and surrendering the outcome and all that. And I said to her, I was just like, babe, like, I'm getting better and better at surrendering, but there's really been nothing yet that's come up which has been so like trying, where I've had to really truly surrender. And you hear of, I mean, in all sorts of domains, people are stretched in a way that they not necessarily lose everything, but one of the biggest issues I've had, I would say, with, I'm going to say, my perception with God. And this is one of my things, is that I'm very much either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. I'm either going to do it or I'm talking shit. And from a Christian standpoint, I've always wanted to be at the point where I genuinely, wholeheartedly go, God, my life is yours, or not do it at all, right? But to me, I'm like, and this has always been my reservation, is, for those who are familiar with the story of Job, long story short, and I don't quite understand this story, maybe someone else can shed some better light on it. There's a story of this dude named Job in the Old Testament where Job's, like, there's like pretty much Satan comes to Lucifer, I can't remember what term they use, goes to God and says, hey, like, let me test someone to see, how loyal they are. I can't remember the context of the story. It's so vague. Anyway, God says, yeah, that guy Job, man, he is a loyal. So Satan's like, yeah, all right, bet, let's go. And he wipes out his livelihood, wipes out his family, wipes out his health, his friends turn on him, the whole lot. And the whole time through, Job is loyal to God and doesn't run his name in the mud or nothing like that. And it turns out, like, God ends up giving him back, like, tenfold and all that sort of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, dude, like, the way I see it is like, if I genuinely say, yeah, God, my life is yours, then I'm opening myself up to that. And I just have no interest in putting my children, their health, everything that I've worked for, everything I've worked for, I don't really care about that so much. But more specifically, it's my children's health and my and their well-being being on the chopping block for God to be able to prove, like, his might. That was parentheses there. Not parentheses. What is it? Apostrophes. And that's always been my reservation. Like, that's been the thing that I'm like, dude, I'm just not interested in that. And I'm like, for me, genuinely saying, yeah, God, my entire life is yours includes that possibility. And I just can't. I can't. And then there's that scripture in Psalm 91. It's the only scripture my entire life. And dude, I've been reading the Bible since it was as early as I could read. I haven't in the last few years. When I say few years, I mean quite a few years. At least not consistently, from time to time, of course. But Psalm 91, there's this scripture and it says, "No evil shall befall you, no plague shall come near your dwelling." And that's a scripture I've had randoms. Again, the prophecy and that sort of thing, I've had randoms give me that. And I remember I must have been maybe 10 or 11 years old. I don't even know. And I was reading it as part of like our daily devotions that we did as a family and stuff. And I was reading it through. And the only way I can explain it, and I still vividly remember where I was sitting when it happened, is it's like the words just leapt off the page. It's like they went from like size 5 font to size 30 and then back down. It was like it just went boom. And I remember looking at this and I was taken aback and I read it. And for months, probably not months, it felt like months, maybe only weeks, maybe only a few days. That's just all I could think about was like, and I felt calm as this whole like no evil will come near me, like no plague is going to destroy my stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to surrender. There's this great Michael Singer, and this is where so Michael Singer, incredible books. Absolutely encourage everyone to read. He's got a book called The Untethered Soul, and he's got a book called The Surrender Experiment. And the Surrender Experiment is his life story. And the Untethered Soul is his philosophy, which created his life story. Really, he subscribes very much to like Buddhist philosophy, and the thing with that is that his whole thing is about surrendering to whatever life puts in front of him and being very diligent with that. And and his life is just gosh, like talk about living a full life. It is just crazy, crazy, crazy. And and all because he surrendered. Yeah, I don't know. Like I want to surrender. But I don't want my kids to be collateral damage in the process. Yeah. Anyway, that's been one I've genuinely wrestled with far out years now. Probably as long as I've had kids. Yeah, and now kind of understanding that it's like even my involvement and my presence, like when I'm not there, if I'm not around, that actually impacts my kids. Can my kids overcome it? Absolutely. Do people overcome the loss of a significant parent and someone who's big in their lives? Yes, they do. 100% agree. All that. But I'm just like, is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth it? And I think anyone in the Christian circles would say, like, is God worth it? Yes. is that sacrifice worth it? Like, how do you quantify the value of someone's life? Like, to me, obviously, my kids matter probably more than anything. My kids and Beck. I wouldn't. Yeah, I would say, yeah, they're pretty close. Hmm. Kind of forever like, in my mind, I'm doing this algorithm going like kids over Beck, Beck over kids, Beck over kids, kids over Beck. Like just trying to work out, like this the value hierarchy in my mind, and I'm like, I genuinely think they're on the same level. And yeah, and I just think, yeah, I don't want to be a pawn. This is the thing. Ultimately, this is my reservation. My biggest hindrance to surrendering to God or whatever is that I don't want to be a pawn in. I don't want my life to just be a pawn in the game of somebody else's desire to show everyone how great they are. Um, yeah, there you go. I don't want to be a pawn in the life in someone else's story of greatness. Pretty much. That's enough for tonight. I'm going to leave it at that.